What is going on, everybody? It's the Sabaody Archipelago Arc review. I am Mr. Morfetto, and how are my One Piece fans doing? Comment down below and let me know. So this is my part 1 review of the Sabaody Archipelago arc of the One Piece, and it is part 1 because it's the first 12 chapters. I've been splitting the arcs in half just so I can get in a little bit more detail with you guys about these arcs. Sometimes these One Piece arcs are dense for being a manga. I mean, I feel like I can get through many chapters of other shonen mangas with only getting through, and in the same time only completing one chapter of One Piece. It's very interesting, especially this one being only 24 chapters total, but they fit so much in just 12. It's rather interesting, but let's hop right in there. This whole thing, the Sabaody Archipelago arc, kicks off with our crew, including Brook now, leaving Thriller Bark. We are on our way out of the Thriller Bark arc, and I gotta say, I predicted at the end of that we would be going out to save Ace, because at the end of the Thriller Bark arc, we find out that the piece of paper in Luffy's hat this whole time is somehow connected to Ace, and if Ace's life is in danger, it starts to like burn away, like wilt away. I'm not sure. But Ace is in trouble, and I figured Luffy'd be like, well, we best go save Ace then, and not give a shit about the One Piece. And I don't even know if Luffy gives a shit about, I know he does give a shit about the One Piece, but he just wants to keep going on their journey, you know? And that's interesting. He basically tells the crew that he's not worried about it. Luffy thinks that, you know, Ace wouldn't want him to save him. He thinks, I mean, Ace is really strong. He wouldn't want him to worry. Ace hates to show any weakness. If I go help him, he'll just scold me. Besides, we're rivals in the big pirate game anyway. So Ace has his own adventures, and I have mine. And I'm not too worried about it. And then he cheers with his crew, which finally feels like a real crew size, you know, with Brook part of the crew and Frankie now as well. We've got a big crew here, and it's a bigger boat at the same time. It almost feels like they might even need more people in the crew to run this ship. I mean, most of the crews in One Piece seem to be rather large. I mean, they usually have a few generals and then a lot of jobbers, a lot of foot soldiers that run the ship. I mean, it all kind of, I mean, large crews have always been around since Buggy's crew back in the Dizay. I mean, even Alvida's crew was rather big. I mean, Luffy's been very picky about who he allows on his crew, which I am fine with. But I mean, I guess you could say he's not very picky because he was inviting all those zombies to join his crew. I know it was a gag, but he seems to ask some strange people to be on his crew. But I'm pretty happy with everybody there right now. I mean, I have no complaints. I couldn't imagine the Straw Hat crew without any of them. They all serve a purpose. They all have a job, and I appreciate that. I mean, we got a musician. We got a doctor. We got a sniper. We got a carpenter or a shipwright. We've got a swordsman bodyguard fella, which is Zoro. We've got a chef. We've got a navigator. We have got a archaeologist in our girl Nico Robin. This crew is rather set. I can't imagine who else they could get to fill out the gang other than some foot soldiers who can that can swab the deck, you know. Either way, the crew heads out into the place of places. We get to see a little bit of crazy Grand Line issues where they're dealing with a sea snake current. You know, it's nice just to get back to seeing weird shit on the Grand Line. There was like a sea raccoon jumping out of the water, which was like twice as big as the new giant ship. A round rainbow, a bunch of stuff that was kind of just thrown in. I really anticipated this arc to be rather lighthearted because of what we've been through the last few arcs. I mean, Thriller Bark was kind of a funny arc for the most part until the very end when shit got real, when Bartholomew showed up. But it does feel like we're in need of a like a Buggy the Clown type arc with a goofy villain. And that's kind of what this first part of the Sabaody Archipelago Arc is. They reach the red line, which is so confusing. I need someone. I know they explain it here, and I'm sure they'll talk about it more. But they reach this red line. They find out that there's a whole nother part of the Grand Line ahead of them. Basically, the Grand Line that they've been on right now is kind of like a tournament, and the best of the best who survive, not even a tournament, a survival, like a battle royale almost of all the pirates who want to set out and get the One Piece. And turns out this is just like a trial, and the real shit happens past this line. And you got to go through Fishman Island to get there. I think Fishman Island is like the last island, and then we're on to the New World, as they call it. This New World. It feels weird because, to me, it feels like they haven't talked about this second half of the Grand Line leading up to it. And usually Oda is very particular about laying seeds. I think somebody might have mentioned the New World a while back. Correct me if I'm wrong, maybe, and I'm just forgetting it. Someone might have said the New World before we knew about the New World. I digress. Either way, we're basically what they're saying is we got past the first half, sort of, or we just got past the pre-Grand Line, or that was the Grand Line, and now the next spot is the Super Grand Line, and that's where we're headed, and I'm all for it. I can only imagine where this shit's going at this point. We meet a new mermaid. We already met the old lady back at Enies Lobby and Water 7, and now we meet this girl named Camie. She is a mermaid, a younger mermaid. I like that most of them forgot about the other mermaid back at Water 7 because she disgusted them, I guess, and they just want to pretend like this is the very first mermaid they've ever saw. And that's kind of what the game they're playing here is. They meet Camie and her little starfish friend, and I love it because Luffy asks if she can poop, and she can, and I am curious to why Luffy cares so much about how people defecate, but that's himself, that's him. I mean, Luffy really feels like, if you ever played D&D, he feels like one of those characters that'll ask the absolute weirdest question, so the DM, who's controlling the non-player characters, just the story characters, has to come up with the goofiest answer, or, he has to answer them because they're talking like real conversation, and Luffy it really feels like a pirate D&D adventure. But yeah, they meet him. There's a starfish that can talk, who can sing, and he's also like somebody who makes clothes, I think. He's like a designer for the criminal clothing brand. I'm not sure if that's going to come up later to be important, but this is One Piece, so possibly him being a clothes designer could come up and be very important later, so I try to keep these details. Quickly, we find out that she's friends with Hatchan, the octopus man, fish man that we met way back at the Arlong Park arc, and that's pretty exciting. if you ask me, because I've said it before and I'll say it again. My favorite villain in One Piece so far is still Arlong. And I really would like to see what Arlong is up to. Rather he's in prison, rather he's like out and about looking for revenge. I mean, we got to see what Buggy was up to for a bit there. And I don't think there's been a cover story about Arlong and the rest of his crew, or just him. I mean, he was kind of a cool character, and I feel like there's a deep story there that could be told to us, the viewer, the fan of the One Piece. I mean, I cannot be the only one who really liked Arlong. I think that it helped that his whole arc was so much fun. Nami's backstory. He was so evil, but at the same time, it felt like there was something we weren't learning about his past that we could dive into. I'm going to get past this as quickly as possible. I feel like Arlong would be a cool addition to, not the Straw Hats, but it'd be cool to do a redemption arc for Arlong. Arlong would have been a prime subject to be the Vegeta of this story. He could have trained and got stronger and become a rival for Luffy, or saved Nami's life someday. Because maybe he learned to really love Nami like a daughter all those years raising her, and he, she'll never forgive him for what he did to her mom, but maybe she can at least learn to respect the world he came from and why he's such a dick. But we'll get past that. She's friends with Hatchan, and I do remember a cover story with him and possibly her opening like a food restaurant thing. I kind of remember it. I'm not 100% sure. I don't always deeply pay attention to those cover stories. I kind of glance at them. Usually they don't have words. It's just pictures. Either way, we find out Hatchan's in trouble, and I find it hard to imagine that Nami doesn't instantly remember who Hatchan is when they start talking about him, because didn't she grow up with him around all the time? What did she call him? She's like, I don't know. That name sounds familiar. It sounds like the name he uses all the time. So I feel she does say the name sounds familiar, but it does feel like she should know immediately who that is, especially since the Arlong crew terrorized them for her whole family for so long. Either way, the crew decides to help Camie and the starfish go help Hatchan. Is it Hatchan, whatever, the octopus fish man. They're on their way to help him. But they're dealing with some people who capture, I think they capture mermaids, and they want to capture her. They capture fishmen. This whole area they're in, there seems to be some kind of slave trade involving mermaids and fishmen. Like, they're not treated like people, which is insane and deep as fuck for this series, and I can't believe that shit's going down. They end up fighting like a biker gang rather quickly, and ending there. Like, it's rather interesting because this biker gang has a leader who wears a helmet and covers his face, and he's basically saying that I finally get to have my revenge. Which is pretty nuts, because I was trying to theorize, like, who could this be? Is this Arlong? Like somebody like that? Or somebody from pre-Grand Line that has come to the Grand Line to get revenge? That's the only thing I could have thought of. Either that, or somebody who's had a vendetta against a member of the crew before they joined the crew. I don't know. I was thinking maybe it could have been Don Krieg. He was my first thought. Don Krieg, I feel, could have a crazy revenge arc thing go down on the Grand Line. And I thought maybe that was him, because he's kind of covered in armor too. Oh yeah, there's a cover story going on during this whole time with the CP9 trying to pay medical bills to help out Rob Lucci, because they're all broke and the government wants to kill them, I guess. I don't know why the government would want to turn against their CP9 members just because they failed one mission when they could easily at least salvage half of them just to, and you don't want to waste these guys. They're tough cookies, and you need a team. You need these guys. Train them, get them, make them stronger. I mean, they need these guys. If they're willing to keep serving the Marines, the Navy, they should allow them to come back. They're great soldiers. Why go after them? Luffy and the gang head over there. They meet the Iron Mask Duval crew, the boss of the Flying Fish Riders. This dude's got this armored mask. He looks pretty tough. He looks pretty vicious. And so the guys he has on his crew, the Macro Gang, I don't know who these people are, but they're there, and they're trying to deal with them. They captured Hatchan. They want to get that mermaid. It turns out you can't catch mermaids easily, because they're one of the fastest, or the fastest, water beings around, and that's why they're so hard to catch, which really lines up with the mythology of mermaids and why they're so hard to, ever even see one. They're so fast. That's why they don't catch them that often, and they go for a pretty penny. Either way, the crew ends up saying, we're going to help Hatchan, even though they realize that he is the right-hand man to Arlong, one of his generals, one of his top guys, one of the guys that caused them a lot of trouble. I mean, he went head-to-head with Zoro. I know Zoro whooped his ass, but he did cause some shit. I mean, Zoro was injured at the time, so I feel like if Zoro wasn't injured at the time, and he had 2 good swords, along with his third main sword, he probably would have been able to dispatch Hatchan on his own without any help whatsoever, which he did. But, I mean, I feel like he could have done it and then continued to fight like Arlong. I feel like at the time, if Zoro was at full health, he could have beaten Arlong. And I'm saying that right now, right here. Either way, Luffy and the gang decide they're going to help... They're going to help save Hatchan because they want food. Luffy wants the octopus food. And they think that, Nami even says that he's actually not that bad. He's actually pretty innocent. He's not the worst of the Arlong crew, so let's help him out. Luffy goes in, whips ass. They basically... beat the shit out of this Flying Fish crew. They don't really stand a chance. It's pretty quickly realized that the only way that they're going to lose is if they fuck around too much. Like, Luffy ends up falling into the water because he tries to fly one of those Flying Fish motorcycles. And then Chopper and Brook, 2 other Devil Fruit users, jump in to save him, which does not help anybody. So then Nami and fucking Frankie have to save them. So basically the only way they're going to lose here is if they fuck up their own shit. If Luffy and all the goofballs on the crew mess up. But Zoro and Sanji are taking this pretty seriously. Zoro frees Hatchan. They have a little bit of a back and forth about their fight earlier. Hatchan, he's like, hey man, I'm sorry for trying to beat you up. And Zoro's just like, you couldn't even touch me back then. So, it's fine. Then later, Luffy and Sanji get to do a double combo move against the biker dude, which was pretty cool. Even Brook gets to step in and do a lullaby technique, which puts some guys to sleep. And he's pretty cool. I like that he can run on the water because he moves so fast, and I'm assuming because he's so light, because he's made of bones. It is also interesting if how is he able to lull people to sleep with music? I'm curious. Does he have another ability that we don't know about? Where did he learn this ability? Will we learn about this later? Very possibly. So Luffy runs into the Iron Masked Duval fella and basically ends up, this dude is after Sanji. And we're like, what? Why would this guy be after Sanji? And they're asking, like, Sanji, why would this guy be after you? He looks tough. What did you do? He's like, I used to piss people off all the time back at the restaurant. And this could be literally anybody. And then the guy says, like, this just recently happened. You ruined my life. Turns out this guy looks just like Sanji's wanted poster, because he's got a hand-drawn wanted poster because the guy who was supposed to take a picture of Sanji failed to do so. I'm curious if there's some kind of thing there. Can Sanji not be Can he not be taken? Can he not be pictured like in a camera or something? Or did he really leave the lens on the camera and that's why he didn't get a good picture? Either way, my mind was blown that the fact that this dude was actually after them. I guess it wasn't blown. It was really funny that this guy turned out to be just Sanji's fucking wanted poster drawing. And I almost wanted to stand up and applaud Oda's idea there, because it really got me thinking, like, who is this mystery person? And then this happens and it just becomes a fucking goof. Sanji goes in, he gets dragged underwater actually, and Camie saves him with her fast mermaid abilities, which is great. And it was pretty funny because I think when Camie brought him up to the surface, she was holding him against her chest and his face was bleeding, his nose was bleeding, his eyes were, he was just having a great time. Either way, there is a really unique moment here where Luffy takes on Duval's bull, like a damn bull with little horns, and it was funny because the horns don't matter because the horns are too little and he's got a big face. Either way, Luffy looks at the damn bull and says, "It's a waste of time fighting you," and the bull runs away and then passes out, and it reminds me of when Ace was dealing with Whitebeard not too long ago, and when he walked onto Whitebeard's crew, all the weak members of Whitebeard's crew collapsed and passed out because of Ace's presence. And I'm like, what's going on with Luffy's presence here? Is he learning something here? Because it kind of reminds me of what Ace did on a lower level. Is there something going on there? Please write down in the comments below if there's something going on there. And like this video and share and subscribe to the Mr. Morphetto YouTube page. Either way, they do that. Sanji comes in, beats the crap out of this Duval fella, so much so that he basically kicks him into plastic surgery and makes him handsome. And makes him a handsome man. He did that earlier back at the Water 7 arc. Sanji did that to Wanze. And so it wasn't unexpected, The idea that he can do that is weird. That he can change people's facial structures. Which, I can understand that he could break people's faces, their bones, and whatnot. But I feel like if he broke your face and gave you, quote-unquote, plastic surgery, it would take a while. It would take a bit of time for your face to heal. You wouldn't instantly just be a beautiful person. You would be swollen. I'm assuming a few days, at least months, passed after they left the fight with them. Because they kind of just, when they end the chapter with Sanji beating the shit out of this dude's face, then they open the chapter with them already on the sea again, eating yummy octopus foods. Either way, the crew separate. This Duval guy is super indebted, like a life debt, to Sanji for changing his face and making him handsome. And he's like, "I'll come help you out anytime you want." And I know they're going to cash in on that. Either way, Luffy eats and eats and eats and eats. The whole crew gets to eat delicious Hatchan octopus food, and they have a great time. Then they get explanations on how to get to Fishman Island. They need to go to the Sabaody Archipelago Island, which isn't really an island. It's like a bunch of tree roots. And they need to go there, find this dude who's going to paint their ship with some kind of substance so they can go underwater and reach Fishman Island, which is the only way to get there unless you want to go through a marine base, which they don't want to do that. There is a really funny part where Zoro goes to land on his own, and then Usopp and Sanji are like, "Don't go anywhere. You are going to get lost." It's just pretty funny. I really like that they're leaning hard onto Zoro's navigation skills. Quickly, we notice that Hatchan and Camie are pretending not to be fish people, and like I said earlier, we find out that they can't be in this town as fish people because they are not considered people here, and might be put into like a slave trade thing, which ain't cool. Ain't cool at all. We also run into there is like a really cool bubble bike that they can float around on, and Luffy really wants one, but they doesn't work out past the atmosphere of this island, so it's kind of pointless and a rip-off, which was interesting. We do run into the celestial dragons. These old people with bubbles over their heads because they don't want to breathe the same air as regular folk. But basically, they're these rich motherfuckers. These celestial dragons. I really hate them. You know how I said I didn't like Spandam from the Water 7 Enies Lobby arc? These guys are worse. These guys are the worst people I've ever seen in One Piece. They are terrible racists, slave owners. They buy people and they use them. How there's like a person chained up behind them. They put explosive collars on them so they can't run away. It's rather wild, and they can't be stopped because they're protected by the Marines. Why are they protected by the Marines? Just because they have money? That's my only assumption there, and I'm sure they mentioned it. It's probably because they have money, and they give money to the government. They quickly jump to other things. They're trying to make it to Shaky's Rip-Off Bar, where they do, and they find Shaky. They're really looking for Rayleigh, this old fella who's going to paint their ship, and he hasn't been around for a minute, so they're kind of screwed there, but he is on the island, somewhere between the Groves 1 to 29, which are, the map of this area. She explains the red line, and also says they are not the only pirates on this stopping point to the New World. And there's actually a large crew of different crews of pirates. One is Capone, the Capone gang, fire tank pirates, I guess you'd call them. From the West Blue, he's worth 138 million berries. There's a girl, the Glutton Jewelry Bonnie. She kind of reminds me of like an old Western type of villain character lady. She's 140 million berries. She's a captain as well, I believe, from the Bonnie Pirates. So yeah, she's the captain. Then there's the magician Basil Hawkins. Hawkins pirate captain, 249 million berries bounty. This dude shows up. There's the Roar of the Sea. This man here, I'm not on-air pirate captain from the Grand Line. So he is from the Grand Line, from the Long Arm tribe. So he must be from a different type of race. He's kind of got like piano key teeth. It's rather interesting. There is Captain Kidd, Kid Pirate Captain from the South Blue. He's worth 315 million berries, which I do believe they mention is higher than Luffy's 300 million berry bounty. So this guy is rather dangerous. He looks rather dangerous. And I think they mentioned that this dude actually has a higher bounty than Luffy because he kills people instead of... because Luffy tries not to kill people. Actually, they don't kill people at all if they can help it. I don't think they've killed anybody since the start of their adventure. There's a Red Flag X Drake. This dude looks like Zoro the swordsman. Not the one part of the Straw Hat crew, but the one from the movie. He kind of looks like him. He's got a black mask on. He's kind of cool. He kind of looks like a nobody, but who knows? Maybe I'm wrong, and he could be somebody else. There's the Fallen Monk Pirates, Mad Monk Rogue. There's a few other pirates, but the one that stands out, the one they really highlight here, and somebody I've seen before in pictures, is Trafalgar Law. I know his name is Law. I've seen him in pictures here and there. I've seen people comment on this guy being something special. Law from the North Blue of the Heart Pirates. 200 million berry bounty, not as high as Luffy. I'm curious to that. He looks like an up-and-coming fella. None of the other pirates look familiar to me other than Law, but only because I've just seen pictures of him here and there. And these fleet pirate captains are all here. They've made it through the Grand Line, and these boys are very strong. They're at least as strong as the Straw Hat crew is, most of them. And they're going on to the New World as well. I wouldn't be surprised if we end up fighting these dudes sometime on this island or sometime at the Fishman Island. I don't know. It feels like we're setting up a lot here for the future of the series. Like, these characters are going to play big parts going forward. And that's rather cool because now we kind of have the lineup for the future. And that's kind of like it was when Luffy, I can't remember the damn name of the island where Luffy almost got executed. There was a lot of stuff like this, a lot of information dump. Luffy and the gang, Luffy and Camie and Chopper and Hatchan and Brook all go to the fair. There's like a amusement park here on this island, which was pretty fun. Then they show St. Charles the Celestial Dragon, this rich guy eating ice cream, he's literally riding a person, one of his slaves. He's riding a slave with chains on him and making him carry him like a horse. And it's rather disturbing. It's one of the most disturbing images, him doing this, that I've seen in One Piece. And also, he stops a doctor from trying to save somebody who was badly injured because he's crossing. I guess they aren't supposed to move while the celestial dragons are coming through. I do not like these celestial dragons. I really don't. And I really hope they get their asses beat. I think 2 times Luffy and Zoro both attempted to beat their ass and were stopped by other people. And it was frustrating because I want to see these people get theirs. And I hope it happens in the second half of this arc. Zoro almost slices the dude in half, but gets stopped by Bonnie, I believe, and tells him, "You need to calm the F down." Zoro ends up helping out the dude that was injured. Then quickly we find out Camie's been kidnapped. What? Camie's been kidnapped while they were at the fair. Also, while they were at the fair, I forgot to mention they were looking for Rayleigh, this old man. Sanji has the great idea of calling in Duval, the handsome Duval, and his crew, the flying fish riders. They show up and they're like, "We're gonna find Camie. We're not gonna let her get sold to these sons of bitches." I'm assuming the celestial dragons will be the ones to try and buy her because they're pieces of shit. Luffy and the gang are out looking for Camie. And they get on some flying fish. We see that Camie is being brought into this auction to be auctioned off because she's like a prized possession at this point. They do finally show at the end of the last chapter Silver's Rayleigh, the Pirate King's right arm, former Roger pirate, first mate. This guy looks like an old wise man. Is this the Master Roshi of this story, people? Let me know in the comments. Is he the Master Roshi? Is he going to teach people some shit? Some quote-unquote hockey? They've mentioned hockey before, and they're mentioning it here again. He used it on... He made the dude pass out. I'm assuming this has something to do with... I think they mentioned it with our boy Shanks knocking people out with his hockey back when he was dealing with Whitebeard. So Shanks and this guy, there's some kind of power that we're not seeing here. Something I believe not to be related to the devil fruit abilities. I think Haki is different. I think it's more like a chi thing, kind of like with Dragon Ball, where they have that aura that comes around them when they power up, and you can feel their power in Dragon Ball Z type thing. That's what I'm imagining. It's a chi. It's kind of like in Hunter x Hunter when they're working on their energy. I cannot remember the name of it for the life of me right now. But yeah, it's like a energy that they use to fight with. And I'm assuming that's what this Rayleigh guy is going to demonstrate going forward. He seems interesting. He's part of the Roger crew. That's going to be interesting. He might know where the One Piece is. If anybody was going to know where that is, it'd be his crew, but I would assume if these members of his crew exist still, like Shanks, then there must be more to that going forward. This Rayleigh guy, Silver's Rayleigh, is going to paint their ship. That's true, and I know that for sure. And I know Luffy and the gang are going to save this guy, but is he going to let them know that he used to work with the Pirate King, Goldie Roger? Because he might not. But he seems rather tough. They've even mentioned, I think Shaky mentioned that he's hundreds of times stronger than their crew. He must be stronger than... I don't know how he got captured, because in the end of this half of this arc, he's sitting in the prison along with the rest of the people that are going to be auctioned off. At least from what I can see, it looks like he's sitting in there. So how did he get captured if he's this tough, is my question. He's wearing shackles. Is he just having a good time? If he's this strong, like those shackles, there must be something going on here that's keeping him locked up here. I'm Mr. Morfetto. What did you think of this first half of this arc that I'm really into? And I feel like the first part of this was very gaggy and funny with the guy that looked like Sanji's wanted poster, and Duval. I think that was kind of more of a gag, but they are paying it off by using the Flying Fish Riders to help them find Camie, so maybe they will become an important part of this second half of this arc. I am happy that this arc is only another 12 chapters. I mean, these last few have been 48 plus, and sometimes it's nice to just get a story in and out of the way. And I'm so excited. I'm 501 chapters in. I'm essentially at the halfway point in my One Piece journey. And that's exciting for me. It took a long time to get just to here. And I never want it to end, of course. But at the same time, I want to know some more stuff about these mysteries. And I want more mysteries to solve. Some have been solved and some have not. And I want more. And there's still more that can be told. I want to see Luffy and the gang get into some wild adventures. I'm more interested in the adventures and the story than I am the fights at this point. The fights are fun and creative, but I truly believe the best part about One Piece is the exciting adventure and the characters we meet on the way. And we're meeting some really cool ones. Before I sign out here, now that Hatchan is here again, I don't think he's going to be joining the crew. I'm going to get that across right now, because he seems rather happy doing what he's doing. He has no reason to do so. I am disappointed that he hasn't mentioned anything more about Arlong. He did say that he doesn't know what happened to them. I think he mentioned they might have gotten captured, but he got away, but there's nothing else after that, and I would like to hear more about Arlong and the Arlong gang. And I fear that we won't be hearing more about him in this arc, because they haven't brought him up since the beginning of it, and I feel like they would have. Hatchan seems like a nice fellow. I think he'd be cool on the crew, but we already got a swordsman. That's another reason he can't join the crew. We already got a main swordsman. But, I mean, Brook is a swordsman, but he's not... He's the humming swordsman, but he's not Zoro-level swordsman. He's a tough guy, and he's probably hard to beat in a sword fight, but he's not Zoro. So yeah, Hatchan can't join. We don't need the mermaid. I do believe a fishman would be rather needed on the crew, but they need something else. They can't be a swordsman. I'm Mr. Morfetto, and please comment down below, please subscribe, and stay tuned for the second half of my review of the Sabaody Archipelago Arc. I'll talk to you later.